A digital audio workstation, also known as DAW, is an electronic device or application software used for recording, editing and producing audio files. DAWs come in a wide variety of configurations, from a single software program on a laptop, to an integrated standalone unit, all the way to a highly complex configuration of numerous components controlled by a central computer. Regardless of configuration, modern DAWs have a central interface that allows the user to alter and mix multiple recordings and tracks into a final produced piece. I have already made many videos of devices that made music evolve, but today I really think we will talk about the key piece of the current music. Early attempts at digital audio workstations in the 1970s and 1980s faced limitations such as the high price of storage and the vastly slower processing and disk speeds of the time. In 1978, Soundstream, who had made one of the first commercially available digital audio tape recorders in 1977, built what could be considered the first digital audio workstation using some of the most current computer hardware of the time. The DAW software could perform edits to the audio recorded on the system's hard disks and produce simple effects such as crossfades. DAW was the digital audio processor. By the late 1980s, a number of consumer-level computers such as the MSX, Yamaha CX-5M, Apple Macintosh, Atari ST and Commodore Amiga began to have enough power to handle digital audio editing. Engineers used Macromedia Sound Edit, with Microdeals Replay Professional and Digidesign's Sound Tools and Sound Designer to edit audio samples for sampling keyboards like the EMU Emulator II and the Akai S900. Soon, people began to use them for simple two-track audio editing and audio mastering. In 1989, Sonic Solutions released the first professional, 48K HZ at 24-bit, disc-based nonlinear audio editing system. The Macintosh IIFX-based Sonic system, based on research done earlier at George Lucas Sprocket Systems, featured complete CD pre-mastering, with integrated control of Sony's industry-standard U-matic tape-based digital audio editor. In 1994, a company in California named OSC produced a 4-track editing recorder application called DEC that ran on Digidesign's hardware system. Many major recording studios finally went digital after Digidesign introduced its Pro Tools software, modeled after the traditional method in signal flow in most analog recording devices. At this time, most DAWs were Apple Mac-based. Around 1992, the first Windows-based DAWs started to emerge from companies such as Innovative Quality Software, IQS, Nassau Studio, Soundscape Digital Technology, SADI, Echo Digital Audio, and Spectral Synthesis. All the systems at this point used dedicated hardware for their audio processing. In 1993, the German company Steinberg released Cubase Audio on Atari Falcon 030. This version brought DSP built-in effects with 8-track audio recording and amp playback using only native hardware. The first Windows-based software-only product, introduced in 1993, was Samplitude, which already existed in 1992 as an audio editor for the Commodore Amiga. In 1996, Steinberg introduced Cubase, which could record and play back up to 32 tracks of digital audio on an Apple Macintosh without the need of any external DSP hardware. Cubase not only modeled a tape-like interface for recording and editing, but also, using VST, modeled the entire mixing desk and effects rack common in analog studios. This revolutionized the DAW world, both in features and price tag, and was quickly imitated by most other contemporary DAW systems. As software systems, DAWs are designed with many user interfaces, but generally they are based on a multi-track tape recorder metaphor, making it easier for recording engineers and musicians already familiar with using tape recorders to become familiar with the new systems. Therefore, computer-based DAWs tend to have a standard layout that includes transport controls, play, rewind, record, etc., track controls and a mixer, and a waveform display. Multi-track DAWs support operations on multiple tracks at once. Like a mixing console, each track typically has controls that allow the user to adjust the overall volume, equalization and stereo balance, pan, of the sound on each track. In a traditional recording studio, additional rack mount processing gear is physically plugged into the audio signal path to add reverb, compression, etc. However, a DAW can also root in software or use audio plugins, for example, a VST plugin, to process the sound on a track. Perhaps the most significant feature available from a DAW that is not available in analog recording is the ability to undo a previous action, using a command similar to that of the undo button in word processing software. Undo makes it much easier to avoid accidentally permanently erasing or recording over a previous recording. If a mistake or unwanted change is made, the undo command is used to conveniently revert the changed data to a previous state. Cut, copy, paste, and undo are familiar and common computer commands, and they are usually available in DAWs in some form. More common functions include the modifications of several factors concerning a sound. These include wave shape, pitch, tempo, and filtering. To realize the change the DAWs have made, I'm going to make a brief review of the recording methods before it. The earliest method of sound recording and reproduction involved the live recording of a performance directly to a recording medium by an entirely mechanical process, often called acoustical recording. In the standard procedure used until the mid-1920s, the sounds generated by the performance vibrated a diaphragm with a recording stylus connected to it, while the stylus cut a groove into a soft recording medium rotating beneath it. To make this process as efficient as possible, the diaphragm was located at the apex of a hollow cone that served to collect and focus the acoustical energy, with the performers crowded around the other end. Recording balance was achieved empirically. A performer who recorded too strongly or not strongly enough would be moved away from or nearer to the mouth of the cone. The number and kind of instruments that could be recorded were limited. Brass instruments, which recorded well, often substituted instruments such as cellos and bass fiddles, which did not. In some early jazz recordings, a block of wood was used in place of the bass drum, which could easily overload the recording diaphragm. The advent of electrical recording in 1925 made it possible to use sensitive microphones to capture the sound and greatly improved the audio quality of records. A much wider range of frequencies could be recorded, the balance of high and low frequencies could be controlled by elementary electronic filters, and the signal could be amplified to the optimum level for driving the recording stylus. The leading record labels switched to the electrical process in 1925 and the rest soon followed, although one straggler in the US held out until 1929. Electrical recording increased the flexibility of the process, but the performance was still cut directly to the recording medium, so if a mistake was made the whole recording was spoiled. Disc-to-disc editing was possible, by using multiple turntables to play parts of different takes and recording them to a new master disc, but switching sources with split-second accuracy was difficult and lower sound quality was inevitable, so except for use in editing some early sound films and radio recordings it was rarely done. Electrical recording made it more feasible to record one part to disc and then play that back while playing another part, recording both parts to a second disc. This and conceptually related techniques, known as overdubbing, enabled studios to create recorded performances that feature one or more artists each singing multiple parts or playing multiple instrument parts, and that therefore could not be duplicated by the same artist or artists performing live. Wire recording or magnetic wire recording is an analog type of audio storage in which a magnetic recording is made on thin steel or stainless steel wire. Magnetic recording was demonstrated in principle as early as 1898 by Valdemar Poulsen in his telegraphone. Magnetic wire recording, and its successor, magnetic tape recording, involved the use of a magnetized medium which moves with a constant speed past the recording head. An electrical signal, which is analogous to the sound that is to be recorded, is fed to the recording head, inducing a pattern of magnetization similar to the signal. A playback head can then pick up the changes in the magnetic field from the tape and convert it into an electrical signal. The next major development in the magnetic tape was multi-track recording, in which the tape is divided into multiple tracks parallel with each other. Because they are carried on the same medium, the tracks stay in perfect synchronization. The first development in multi-tracking was stereo sound, which divided the recording head into two tracks. First developed by German audio engineer circa 1943 2-track recording was rapidly adopted for modern music in the 1950s because it enabled signals from 2 or more separate microphones to be recorded simultaneously, enabling stereophonic recordings to be made and edited conveniently. As you can see, technology makes things much easier for us. The DAWs give the possibility to many people to make music or to record their single without having to pay hundreds of thousands of euros. Not only have they served to bring music closer to the world, but they have also allowed music studios to work faster and more efficiently. I think that's it. Give a like if you like it and see you soon.